top five dragon sleepers that he does as a finisher. I think Gulak should definitely be who should be the next one in line.
Okay. Oh, and I checked, and they have his build weight at 215. So I don't know if that's his real weight or his shoot weight, but I know maybe I might have been on a cloud that day and I heard 205.
Maybe.
Well, there is a certain hold on. Sorry. I hit something and it started to fall. But I did not want that to happen. But there is a
It must have been WWE's ratings.
oh you wrong for that.
Oh,
You wrong for that one.
Thank you. I'll be here all week. I'll be here all week.
that's actually funny.
That was pretty funny though. But I was saying that Johnny Gargano is in the 205 live category as well as Ricochet. So if they really are wanting to pull out some stops here, and the reason why I say possibly one of those two is because of this upcoming pay per view that is happening this Saturday. It's the Worlds Collide tournament. And the winner of the Worlds Collide tournament gets to choose and challenge for the championship of their choice between 205 Live, NXT, and NXT UK. So Buddy Murphy might get his next opponent from that tournament.
Okay.
I can see that happening. I can definitely see that happening. So just to kind of round out the pay-per-view, other than that cruiserweight championship match, we did end up seeing a retaining from, or actually a new champion that was crowned as far as Shinsuke Nakamura for the U.S. title, only to on SmackDown now lose the title to R-Truth, who is now your U.S. title. What do you guys see in Truth with a run in the U.S. title? You think it's going to be interesting, or you think he's getting a placeholder for somebody else, maybe somebody that might be debuting on the main roster at some point in time soon?
I see R-Truth as a placeholder champion. The reason saying that is now if they would have left that botched finish as it was without Rusev coming down, that would have been the talk of the wrestling internet for the whole week until SmackDown came on Tuesday. But having Rusev come down and having a challenge again, it kind of took away from that moment. They didn't let that moment breathe because when I watched it, it looked like a legit screw up, you know. And for them to have Rusev come down and Truth to fight again, that does lend Truth some credibility as far as, you know, he is the fighting champion. But having that controversy looming over his title win, and then that could have probably pushed him to a more heelish Ron Killen instead of this hopping and skipping and jumping. You know, I always been wanting, ever since Ron Killens came back to the WWE when he was in TNA, I wanted that TNA Ron Killens, and I never got it in the WWE. So I would have loved if they would have let that moment breathe, and then Truth get upset by people calling him a asterisk champion because it was a botched finish, and then using that to catapult him into a more serious heelish role, almost like when he was down in TNA. So unless they do that, then I will consider him as a placeholder champion.
He is a placeholder, in my opinion, for possibly Andrade.
I see that.
Yeah, I can definitely
because
go ahead, I was just saying I agree.
oh no. I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought for a second there. I was just thinking about how fine the El Idolo is. Anyway, I think that would be a good step in the right direction. And like he's already got a valet with Zelina Vega, and Truth kind of has a valet with Carmella that will be able to involve both of them as well in this feud, kind of like they were starting to do with Rusev and Andrade before. And Yeah, I think Truth is a placeholder champion. I don't know what happened with that botch finish. I saw it and I was like, okay, but
Mhm.
we're just gonna go with it because like the show must go on. Accidents happen. Show must go on. Um, but to reference the Ron Killings character that you had talked about, I thought we were going to get a good shade of that when um, R-Truth was fighting John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
He had turned on John Morrison and he fought Cena. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly when I thought we were going to get that truth as well.
Because remember that's when John that's when R Truth and Cena they had real beef, and that's when Ron Killings was like making like YouTube rap videos towards Cena and everything, and I'm like, finally we're gonna finally get it, and it was a built-in storyline, but they never pulled the trigger on it.
I think our true shot at starting in the WWE has kind of dwindled to
Mm-hmm.
comedic. I think that you won't see him get much higher than the Santino Morella level. Where Santino won a couple of mid-card championships as well, but I don't think that they'll ever take his character serious. I think that it's funny that you mentioned Andrade. That was one of my people who I think will definitely be next in line. I did catch a pre-screening of that fighting with family movie from Paige. And of course, Zelina Vega did play the part of Agent Lee in that movie. So maybe the WWE might be mining a little bit of that buzz when that movie drops to shine a little bit of that light on Zelina and El Eagle.
And and Jonathan, and to back up your point, the WWE they also missed out on two big Mexican stars that were close to Mr. Cien, because Mr. Cien told him, "Do not sign here because it's not cracked up to what it's to be." I believe one of the Mexican stars, his name was Rush, and he signed exclusively with Ring of Honor, and the WWE had plans on bringing him in, and they was trying to use CN to as the broker, and reports will say that CN told his Mexican counterparts do not sign with the WWE because it's not what it's cracked up to be. So maybe with the movie coming out and with the report getting out, maybe they might want to try to massage CN a little bit more. So maybe a lengthy title run could be in his future, and giving him that U.S. title shot could be a sign of confidence going forward. So, he could influence his pals to sign with them instead of going to AEW or ROH or New Japan.
I think that I think I like your insight, sir. I think that we're all in agreement there on Andrade possibly being the next U.S. champ, but that's to be determined because I don't know what they're going to do with this Rusev Nakamura and Truth angle because if I remember correctly, they said that they were going to tag together, and I didn't see that actually happening.
Now, if you sit back and look at these three gentlemen, Rusev, Nakamura, and R-Truth, these men, at one point in time, they were the hottest things out. We had Rusev Day was blowing up everywhere. The WWE never pulled the trigger on that. Shinsuke came into much fanfare, and he lost to Jinder Mahal, was it twice or three times, trying to try and catch it, trying to get the title. He had two lackluster U.S. title runs, and we just talked about R-Truth. So, there's a lot of rehab to go into these characters that I don't think the WWE has the mental stamina to actually go through with it. And it's like, how can you get excited about this title when you can't get excited about the three people that are fighting over it?
Well, I mean, we got to see what story gets developed behind it first. This now is kind of kicking off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those people who was on the Rusev Day train, but also enough of a realist to realize that he's wrestled the same. He's had the same characters, wrestled the same the whole time. It's just that he caught one catchphrase that caught on and kind of skyrocketed and be over. Me personally, I've been a Rusev fan, since he debuted, and I remember, when people said he was being booked too strong during his undefeated season. So it's just like, I feel like sometimes you just got to give a chance for the whole character to develop. I think that the Rusev Day has really done a lot for his career. I think that he definitely is a future world champion. I just don't think that right now. I think really right now what they're doing is really testing his highs by knocking him down a couple of things to see if people will still be behind him and he's not so high on the card. So to speak. Other than that, that's the last match that I did discuss in the Royal Rumble, which I didn't really want to spend a whole lot of time on anyway. SmackDown Live Championships. Shane again inserted himself into TV time and into the spotlight. And now he is the tag team champions. I don't even know what to do here, honestly. Hopefully, this goes to help a debuting tag team. Maybe take this off of their hands. Maybe some friction goes on between Shane and Miz that causes this title run to end. Maybe even the Bar just winning it right back on the next pay-per-view would be helpful. But right now, I just don't understand the purpose of this.
I am a proponent of combining. I think the men's tag team division should take a page out of the female tag division and combine it, because on SmackDown they had a fatal four-way to determine new number one contenders, and 75% of the match participants, they're all the same people: the Usos, New Day, the Bar. If it's not the Usos, it's the Bar. If it's not the Bar, it's New Day. And we had 85 matches of those three different combinations, and you just sprinkle in heavy machinery. And how can you get excited over a 4 to 5 division tag team, and you're seeing the same matches pretty much every single week with an added stipulation on a pay-per-view? I'm not trying to sound like the jaded wrestling fan at all, but it's like I absorb this content, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursday, the WWE Network, and it's it gets frustrating. And I just think they should just combine the Raw and SmackDown tag team divisions, and at least you get more fresh matches and a different dynamic, because you have two different shows trying to fight one champion, and that right there, that will create its own storylines itself. So. Scrap one belt, combine divisions, and that's how you can solve one of your bleeding issues when it comes to the tag team division.
Well, I kind of like that idea, but then again, I don't like it. I like it more for women than I do for men. Okay. I'll just put it like that. Because the men's tag team division can be strong again with implementing of other tag teams, and stop throwing together two superstars that have nothing in common.
Exactly.
That's where my problem with the tag division lies. So, that was it. I'm done.
Well, I think we're enough on as a whole, personally. When I think about the pay-per-view, if I'm going to give it a rating, I still kind of like the event itself. It was just a little too predictable for me, so I'm going to go for a 6.5.
All right, on a scale from 1 to 10, I give it like a 5. It was average.
Well, I didn't get a chance to talk about one thing, and that was Nia Jax being the first person ever to enter in 2 Royal Rumbles in the same night. So much props there to Nia Jax for being able to compete, and she took that RKO like a champ. So, she took it like a champ so much that I had to change the picture from heel DIY to Nia's RKO. So props there. And the other thing is, going back to the Miz and Shane, I think this is more or less to get Miz over as a face, trying to pair him with Shane McMahon, and is actually working pretty well at the moment, getting Miz over as a face. And when anytime that the Miz is in a program with anybody, he can make them look as good as he wants them to. So I think that this was just a trial for Miz to be a face, pairing him with Shane, seeing how he gets over, and possibly fight the heel Daniel Bryan. So, and my grade for the show as a whole, I will give it a 7. And I'm only giving it a 7 because of the great debuts from the homegrown talent, so to speak, the NXT people being in the match. But my downside is I wish they would have had at least one legend in the women's match, and that legend should have been Victoria, especially because she was that woman, and she deserves a little extra push there. And this is going to be her last year wrestling, so that's how that goes. But either way, I like the pay-per-view. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall I liked it. It was just, for me personally, it was just a lot of predictability. But that Nia Jax spot was really good. And correct me if I'm wrong, because last year was the inaugural Royal Rumble for women's wrestling, that now makes Nia Jax the first person ever to be entered in both Royal Rumbles simultaneously in the same night. Bit of history there.
Yeah, I just said that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you said a lot there. I do apologize.
It's okay.
All right, so moving right along, we got some other results. NXT Takeover, Phoenix. Phenomenal event, as takeovers always are. It just seems they always kind of squat all over the main roster pay-per-views every time. Follow the same format as usual. I know you expressed your displeasure with this last week, that they were not, he was not on the show, but the Velveteen Dream was not part of the event, but still got a lot of TV time for doing nothing but sitting in the front row. Goodness, this guy is over. What do you think the direction of the Dream is now that he's not participating in this? Is he a future NXT champion?
Well, I don't want to play spoiler here, but NXT TV is going to be very interesting in the next couple of weeks. To those that don't watch NXT TV, you guys, how can you call yourself a true wrestling fan? First of all, you don't watch NXT TV. The Velveteen Dream, when this gimmick when they first debuted this gimmick, me being an African American male, I was like, okay, here we go with this homosexual, Medea-like. But now that his character has been taken more serious, and now that he's been performing at a phenomenal level, and he's stealing the show at almost every takeover, it's Johnny Gargano and then his Velveteen Dream, and he's been doing that on a more consistent basis. Yes, I see him as a true star. I pray that Triple H keeps him in NXT until Vince McMahon walks away. Because never mind. But yeah, I see Velveteen Dream being a NXT star and even a main roster champion.
Well, you already know how I feel about the Dream. It's pretty obvious. I am 100% behind the Dream. I think that he brings something different to the table that no other superstar has done in a long time. And just even sitting there in the crowd, coming out in the stretch limo and then pulling out his girls on either end. Dream's got it. He's got everything that you want in a superstar and a homemade superstar, and he's young. Absolutely. You also got to think about that too. So, like, he's only, what, 22, 23 years old?
Yeah, he's 23, yeah.
He's not even 25. That's one of the most, amazing things that you see, the character development, the wrestling ability that he has with both to be at such a young age. He has no choice but to be a future star.
Exactly.
So,
Hey, Jonathan, I'm gonna put you on the spot really, really quick. Now, on a scale from 1 to 10, what do you rate the Dreams girls though?
I mean, they're average. Nothing special. I
You
mean,
know what? And you know what?
definitely
I was
enhanced.
thinking the same thing. And that's the reason why I said that. I was like, I'm not trying to body shame anybody, but I said, you know what? Because like, if he's trying to be like Prince had like the baddest females with him. You know what I mean? Makeup popping and everything. And I felt like they didn't portray that, or it didn't come off on the camera like that. That's my only gripe about the presentation with the Velveteen Dream. I felt like they could have been more glammed up. I guess they had like basic makeup. There's nothing like. Anyway, I'm just nitpicking.
Of course, leave it to a man to do that. So, yeah.
So
I'm glad he put you on the spot, not me.
jumping right on the card. So of course there were 5 matches, just like any other takeover show. Of course there were also pre-show matches. The Forgotten Sons defeated Street Profits. Austin Scott Powers defeated Marina Shafir and Justin Duke. First match I want to bring up, the War Raiders put on a show.
Mm.
And for me, somebody, now I'm an Oakland Raider fan. Don't hate on me. Anybody who's listening out there, lifelong fan. I'm always going to be a fan. Personally, I never liked the War Raiders name. I know you wanted to try to get something close to War Machine, but the War Raiders name sucks. I was never really that sold on them when they first came. I'm like, it's another big guy tag team following the same mold like the Highlanders and somebody else. Nothing impressed me until this past weekend. His name escapes me right now. I think which one's the big one? Hanson.
Hanson.
When he flipped into the ropes and did the Tajiri back hamstring elbow.
He did his standing. Standing plancha. Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
And he's well north of 300, I believe.
He's got to be about 350. Like if I was a big man, I'd be willing to bet he's got to be above 350.
And Jonathan, if you go back and look at it, he did that from a standing position. Like he didn't run at all. He did that from a standing position.
Right. It's like where does this come from? Like I'm looking at you and you're like, this is like Killian Dane Jr. Killian Dane does a lot of amazing stuff to the inside as well. But it's like I'm looking at this guy and there's no way that somebody this size can be moving and doing numbers like this. No way.
That's what makes the War Raiders special. That's what's always made them special, is because like you see the two guys and you think that Raven Road, which is the smaller of the two, that he would be the more acrobatic. But no, with them, he's the power guy. Hanson is the athletic one. So that's what makes the War Raiders unique, because you don't see this big 300 plus pound man doing these back handsprings better than I can, period. I can't even do it. I can't do a cartwheel. And this man is doing back handsprings? I mean, come on.
Now, the War Raiders did come away with the victory and are now the NXT Tag Champions. Barring a rematch, which you know a rematch is inevitable, the Undisputed Era are already 2-time champs. Do you think that the Undisputed Era may become 3-time champs, or do you think that, hey, Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, all of them on their way to the main roster?
I think NXT is getting a little bit too crowded, and for the Undisputed Era, I think it's time for them to come on up to the main roster. I really dislike the fact that they broke up Red Dragon, and they trying to have what's his name? Not Kyle O'Reilly. Fish.
Roger Strong.
Fish trying to go. I always saw Adam Cole, NXT champion, Strong, North American, and Red Dragon as tag team. But when Fish got hurt, they substitute Strong in, and they've been going with that team ever since. And I never liked that. I mean, I like Strong and O'Reilly together, but Fish and O'Reilly, they just, that team just does it for me. But I would like to see them come up to the main roster. I was hoping that they would attack R-Truth, and then Adam Cole would have came in as the 30th, and Undisputed Era would have cleared out the whole ring, and then Adam Cole would have been going to WrestleMania. That's what I was hoping that would have happened. But I think Undisputed Era needs to move up to the main roster. It's way too crowded in NXT.
Yeah, Undisputed. Remember, they also said that no automatic rematches with this new thing. So they have to earn a spot to do that. I think that Undisputed, they should be primed and they're already completely ready. But then again, they could also have that gripe as well. This wasn't even the true tag team that y'all beat. So they could come back with that old saying because, like, well, hey, like, you didn't beat Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. You beat Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. So it's not the true tag team that you beat. So they could come up with that to have another tag match. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I do know that roster is crowded, like you were saying before. So
I think Undisputed is definitely on the way up. And once they debut, I think they definitely want to wait for it. Shock the system. So the next match on
I see what you did there, sir.
Matt Riddle cashes on again at the pay-per-view. We saw Matt Riddle beat Cassius on 7 seconds of his debut. We've seen him beat Cassius out a couple times since then. This match is definitely no different. However, it was a little more back and forth than we used to see. Matt Riddle wins with a series of elbow strikes to the head, similar of the MMA background, to which Cassius tapped out. Very innovative. It's not something that you see often. I think that really more so impressed me more than anything else in the match. Other than that, I really didn't care. It was just kind of who could hit each other the hardest, give the hardest strike throughout that. We're going to see that a lot throughout a lot of different pay-per-views. That really doesn't excite me anymore. But the finish, I'm definitely on the board. Do you think Matt Riddle is a future star of NXT?
Oh yeah, Matt Riddle. He has, as they say, those California looks. He's tall. He has long blonde hair. He has a smile. He's shredded. He could talk. I just want him just to tighten up his elbow strikes. I want them to look a little bit more vicious because they look kind of cartoony like towards the end. But other than that, even Matt Riddle's been calling out Brock Lesnar on social media as well. So the kid has moxie to call out Brock on social. But he is a future star. I'm sure he's one of Triple H's personal pet projects, and I'm sure by this time next year he'll be at least an NXT champion at least once.
Bro, the original bro, the OB, Matt Riddle. Yeah, kids got moxie. I like him. I'm just gonna keep it that way.
Big facts. I definitely see a lot of star with him as well. I'm ready to see him get away from Cassius Ohno and get into a feud that I'm really going to be invested in. But moving right along, next match of the night, which is probably what I said going into the pay-per-view, this was probably the match of the year already in January, and it did not disappoint. Johnny Gargano, defeated Ricochet for the NXT North American Championship. Hell of a match. Two phenomenal athletes. Definitely guys that I feel like are going to be more in that mold of the face of the company in the future. Maybe not the face, but they definitely have very successful main roster debuts in the future. Gargano with his title now. We saw him stand with Tommaso Ciampa, who also won his match for the NXT title match. Also a phenomenal match as well. Guys, I don't know if DIY can do anything wrong. I think they've been in NXT probably, it seems like a decade now. And I don't want to leave. Even with the roster being as crowded as it is right now, I don't know what else these guys, what else do these guys do to prove how great they are?
Well, first of all, we need to take a step back and appreciate Johnny Gargano's mind when it comes to wrestling. The tights he wore were brown and yellow, some similar to the Dark Phoenix costume, a play on Phoenix, and now that the dark side of him is being controlled by Ciampa, like that little bit, that little touch right there, it's the reason why people call him Johnny Wrestling or Johnny Takeover. Because if you think like that, just for your costume, how much thought are you going to put into your matches? And as we see, he does put a lot of thought into his matches. So DIY can't do nothing wrong. You can have a roster of 1,000 people, and I still say add DIY, and I am fine. So those are my favorite. I would like for them to go to the main roster only if Triple H can personally oversee their creative storylines.
Well, Johnny Takeover took over the weekend. He was great in the Rumble. I got to see a little hint of him and Seth, and that was like incredible. And of course, he had a 5-star match already the night before against Ricochet. So yeah, Johnny Takeover lived up to the hype. He lived up to the name as Johnny Takeover. And to go ahead and talk about Tommaso Ciampa, when you're getting the tweets from Paul Heyman and calling Project Ciampa like your bread and butter, that's what you got to build your things towards. That's pretty big words. And that man knows his stuff. And I don't think that they could do no wrong, especially when you have somebody like Paul Heyman in your corner looking at you, talking about like basically you're the cream of the crop. So all I got to say is I think Tommaso Ciampa's going to have that belt for a while. It's going to be a long while, and I don't think that DIY can do any wrong.
Big facts, big facts. Same goes for me. I don't want to see one of them leave NXT for quite some time, just because right now it's like they're just, you know how they said the Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali with the heart and soul of 205 Live. That's what I feel like DIY is to NXT. That's the heart and soul of NXT right now. And you can't move everybody up at once. So right now, I'm all for you putting all your eggs in one basket with Ciampa and Gargano, so to speak. Last match.
So you guys think that if this story played out on the main roster, how drastically would this whole storyline from inception all the way up to Takeover, how drastic did the storyline impact main roster ratings?
Oh, if this would have been on the main roster, then the ratings would have completely boosted. Everything would have completely boosted. So that's just my opinion.
We would have just had to have the stars, but you know that they wouldn't have. We would have just had to have them be invested into it. And we would have had whoever that they brought on the main roster up to that point sell to it. I think one of the differences from the main roster than from NXT is hungry to put on the show. They're hungry for respect on that show, and they never disappoint. The main roster, to me, and I defend the main roster a lot, but the main roster, to me, the difference is, as Drew McIntyre would often say, complacency with a lot of people. And I think that a lot of people are jealous of other people's spots on the main roster, and nobody really sells for anybody. Nobody wants to make anybody else look good. Everybody's there for themselves.
And no one holds the tag rope when they make a tag. Hey, you know what? This is my little pet peeve. I hate it when the referee asks the wrestlers, "Are you okay?" Like just say, "Can you continue?" Just switching that up, saying, "Like, all right, I like fell 15 feet on my back. Why are you asking me? Am I okay? I'm not okay. I'm supposed to be hurt." You should say, "Can I continue?" Not, "Am I okay?" That's just one of my little pet peeves. Another thing is, I think the referee should always start out wearing black gloves, just like the UFC referees, because it looks kind of goofy when trying to put those oversized gloves on. It just looks dumb. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't mean to vent. Carry on, Jay. My bad.
So moving right along into the last match on that card that I wanted to talk about, and I always say this segment for Lady Grateful because she's impartial to the women's superstars. So I'll let her take over this one. Go ahead and bring us into our women's match here.
Well, I mean, actually, I'm not impartial. I just really like Miss Bianca Belair. Yes, she did take her first defeat, but her mindset of undefeated is a mindset that still remains true for her. So I like the fact that just because in the win loss record, the stats there have her has taken her first loss to Shayna, but the whole undefeated mindset is something that goes along with being the EST of NXT. Now, like I said many times before, I love Shayna Baszler. I cannot express enough how much I love Shayna Baszler. And I was just hoping that Shayna was going to drop the title into the Rumble and like just take out every one of the horsewomen that was in it. That's what I was hoping. So I didn't get that. So I did get the next best thing. Shayna did retain. And I still have high hopes for both her and Bianca. But I think that Marina and Jessamine need Shayna right now because they will not be able to get it over alone without her. So that makes sense to that match. I've pretty much done just kind of grazed over it. But what do you guys feel about it? How did y'all?
So me personally, when I analyze the matches of this thing, when Bianca Belair lost as far as her undefeated streak goes, I'm all for the undefeated streaks being broken. Just because I feel like the longer they go on, the more they handicap the character, so to speak. So I'm for one happy that she was still made to look strong in her loss. Of course, we know there was interference from the outside from her UFC counterparts, which caused the loss. We saw her break the Kyoto clutch once and almost the second time. I think that she had some very good high spots in that match that really rose her stock. And I think that now, going forward, we're going to see a lot more development into her character and adding a little bit of depth to it. Did I want to see her win the title match? Hell yeah. But am I mad at the result? I can't say that I am.
First thing is NXT is going to show the main roster how do you handle a character after they suffer their first loss in a high profile event. I'm referencing Asuka. When Asuka lost after Charlotte, she was an afterthought. Now I want to see how NXT is going to right that wrong with Shane and with Bianca. I wish this match would have happened not for Takeover Royal Rumble, but I wish it would have happened for Takeover WrestleMania. Looking at the match, the timing was off. Bianca is almost there, but once she gains her confidence in herself and in her own ability, that's the slight hesitation that takes you out of the moment. That should be smoothed over. But they could be building up for another rematch, just like you said, Jonathan. And you know, she was booked strong in her loss, and she has a very valid reason why that she should get the run back at Takeover WrestleMania. And I think that's when she's going to finally capture the title. It's going to be like a Rocky 2, Rocky 3 story. She loses and she comes back and she slays the dragon finally. And Shayna and them goes up to the main roster probably. Who knows?
One more thing I had wanted to say on this. That hair whip that she did as she sliced her open, wow.
Definitely.
Wow.
So when I was thinking of the high spots, that was definitely the first thing in my mind. I wondered after seeing that, are they going to hold back on her doing that maneuver to certain female stars in the future?
Mm. Well, I think that would handicap her as a character. I wouldn't say that she would need to do it in every match, or just break it out like in big, in like big spots.
And the matches that she's had leading up to it, she hasn't been using the hair that often. But just the fact of knowing that she has that, and it's kind of like saying that you can't pull somebody's hair to tackle them in football. Like, that is a part of her body. I know they're always like, wash the hair, but you can use it as a weapon and you can use it to hurt somebody. So she hasn't been using it all the time. And when it's in a high profile match like she had to pull out the hair. I mean,
so guys, like do you see like you know how Triple H is like a real big NWA WCW buff? Do you see them shooting like a Dusty Rhodes, Four Horsemen type of angle where Maria and Shayna are beating up Bianca and they cut her braid? You know, you guys see anything? You guys can see something like that potentially happening?
I think it would be great TV, but you know, this generation of fans will hate it. They're going to hate it because they're going to say that they're quote unquote burying Bianca Belair if that was to happen. It would definitely have a lot of shock value. Personally, I don't want to see it.
well, I think that that's a terrible idea. But I see what you're saying with the shock value of it, but I think it's just a terrible idea because is what makes her stand out even more. Not to mention the fact that like we don't have enough positive representation, and like, hey, I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to continue that thought because I'm not going to make anybody mad.
And the reason why I say that is because and I didn't want to, never mind, because that was segue into something else. And like, why do we have our Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar fight yet? You know, it's like, never mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I think that would definitely piss a lot of fans off. And I think that if that was to happen, it would probably be since Bianca Belair herself probably being unhappy and not putting in the best matches either. Speaking of unhappiness, the main topic that I wanted to talk about tonight that I want to shed a little light on. So earlier this week it was reported by multiple news outlets that Dean Ambrose, real name Jonathan Good, wonderful name by the way, states that he is not going to be renewing his contract in April with WWE. A lot of people are saying that, you know, it should be the time that he moves to AEW. A lot of people are saying that, oh, they're not pushing Dean right and he needs to leave and happy for him and blah, blah, blah. Personally, I want to know, and you guys can tell me whether you think this is a work or not either, but personally, I feel like this is a work. This is a work all the way. I've never, in my 32 years of watching wrestling, seen somebody confirm their release before it happens, months in advance before it happens, which would give way too much time for Dean Ambrose to take the show if you're going to put him on TV every week, knowing he's not going to renew his contract.
Well, it's almost like CM Punk. If you remember, this was almost exactly the same thing that CM Punk did. He says, when my contract is up on July 14th, I will be walking out of here with the WWE Championship. Mm-hmm. So part of me makes it feel like it's a work because CM Punk had done that before. And I could see Dean Ambrose pulling a similar stunt as well. And it all just be a big work just to get like the high quality match, the huge pop, the huge push there. And so I'm thinking it's a work, but if it doesn't happen, then I do wish him the best. And please, everybody, stop saying take Renee with you. Stop that. Just stop that because that is not cool.
I think it's, as the old saying goes, something that starts off as a work, ends up as a shoot, ends up going back to a work. I think this is what it is. I think it was a real life situation. Because if you go back and if people look on YouTube and look up Jon Moxley's promos, you will see why Dean Ambrose is frustrated creativity, because when you listen to his Jon Moxley promos versus his Dean Ambrose promos and the way that Dean Ambrose is presented versus the way Jon Moxley is, it's night and day. And the Jon Moxley character feels it's much more closer to Jonathan Good than it is to Dean Ambrose. So hopefully it is a work. I really do like Dean as a character. I just want him, like when they say that he's the lunatic fringe, I never got that he was really crazy or that he just got to make like goofy facial expressions and that was it. But I hope that with the influx of talent wanting to leave, that it gives the WWE creators of creative more leeway to do more things out the box, and hopefully to pacify some of the wrestlers and let them do what they want to do without being so scripted to their promos. So hopefully it is a work, but you just never know.
Now, Lady Brainwood, you made an interesting point about feeling like this is going to work well, and I can't remember the term that you specifically stated. Just on my mind. Anyway, it'll come back to me. I am one of those people who, while I hope this is a work, and I think that this is a work, and that it is kind of in that light of CM Punk that you were referring to, where he announced that he would not renew his contract, and he went in. I think he even wrestled with the WWE title in another company for like a match or two before re-signing with the WWE. Hopefully it turns into that situation, but I do have a difference of opinion in most fans as far as Dean Ambrose goes. I've always been critical of Dean Ambrose's work on the main roster. For someone who's been a Triple Crown champion, Dean Ambrose to me has always seemed like somebody who's very
lazy. He's unmotivated.
Yes. Definitely lazy and unmotivated. I can definitely say WWE has always put Dean Ambrose in a position to succeed, and he didn't run with the ball like his Shield counterparts did. He's a Triple Crown champion. In his WWE title run that he had in SmackDown, was very boring. His mic was boring. He seemed uninterested. When he did feud with the Miz over the Intercontinental title, the Miz even brought that up in a promo against him, saying that, basically he was, along the same lines of unmotivated and, complacent and things like that. Dean Ambrose was the only guy to win a singles title while the Shield was still intact in the original state. Remember when Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins were tag team champions? Dean Ambrose was an Intercontinental champion. And not only that, he never defended the title. But he had the choice to cut all the promos which he cut all the promos at that time. He had multiple main events after the Shield broke up. Against Seth Rollins, against the likes of Bray Wyatt. He's even had feuds with AJ Styles. He's not really done anything on the main roster to give you any type of hope in superstar, so to speak. Personally, I was in the building when he came back, this last time after that latest injury, and put on a lot of muscle mass. There was a lot of fanship behind him, so I think there's a lot of people want to see him do well. But in this instance, I blame a lot of the fan support, and a lot of the lackluster runs on solely Dean Ambrose.
Well, there's an old saying that goes, nobody can do anything to you unless you allow them to do it to you. And we all, the WWE, it is entertainment, but it is also a corporate company. So I'm pretty sure there are some corporate politics that go on behind the scenes. I could imagine me being a creator being told that we're going to go down this path, only to be told time and time and time again to be switched up for another plan, and then that plan that you changed it with wasn't a good plan to begin with. So I'm sure as a creator, and you're not able to creatively use your outlet, I'm sure that has to be frustrating as well, So you might be uninterested. I believe Stone Cold even called him out on his podcast as well for that. And Dean said, "Well, I'm not uninterested. This is just me. This is just my personality, and I can't be who you guys want me to be. That's not me." And maybe that rubs some people in corporate wrong because, hey, he is getting opportunity, and you need to show a little bit more gratitude. Who knows? As there's a lot of backstage politics that we will never be privy of, regardless of how many times someone could post it on the internet. So we just never know, what really is going on behind the scenes.
Lady Bailey, you got anything to add on that?
The only thing I gotta say is, if you do leave, Dean, then we wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. And if it's a work, then I'm really hoping it is, because he just needs a little bit more control instead of this zany, lackadaisical style character that he has created for himself. Well, I don't know if he created it or they created it or whatever it is, but there is more to him than what we're really seeing. And if I sound far away, I'm sorry.
So do you think that if his contract is up and he's not re-signed, and the wrestling world is pretty much begging him to sign with AEW as they're doing with everybody that's currently in WWE, which that in itself kind of annoys me about people who want AEW to succeed, which I do want to succeed, but we can't put everybody.
No, you can't.
Let's just be real. But if he does get the jump at AEW, do you think he brings something legitimate as a legitimate competitor to AEW? Do you think he brings star power? Is he enough to help kickstart AEW to competition?
There's another saying: under the right system, even a role player can become a superstar, and it all depends on, one, of course, if you have Dean Ambrose or Jonathan Good on your roster, one, you do have credibility because he at the end of the day, he was a part of one of the greatest three-man factions in wrestling that made the biggest splash since the NWO. So yes, that does bring wrestling star power. Does that translate to mainstream star power? He was in one of the Mrs. movies, but that's always straight to DVD, and only a niche market of people are going to see that, which is the wrestling community, and they're going to follow him anyway. So is he bringing in any new eyes per se? If he does go to a AEW, he might bring a couple of WWE casual people, but that's about it. But it'd be a good, as far as from a wrestling standpoint, it would be good to have him because he would be able to help the younger guys and things like that on the behind the scenes side. But as far as helping business, as far as growing revenue, I would say no.
I don't think that AEW is necessarily the place for him. I think that he would do well, possibly in Ring of Honor or possibly in New Japan or another federation. Maybe go back to CZW. Take some time away. Impact something. Take some time away. Pull a Drew McIntyre and come back just fresh, revamped, and refocused if he does step away. I like Dean Ambrose, and I just think that right now, currently, if he does stay, then he's got to change something because he's starting to get like Sasha Banks where he doesn't look like he cares.
Exactly.
And the only time that Sasha cares is when there's something big on the line. And by far, I didn't say this before, but by far, her match against Ronda Rousey was the best I've seen out of Sasha Banks since her and Bayley down in NXT.
Definitely. Definitely.
So when there's something huge on the line, that's when they only want to bring it to the table. Because when he fought Brock, that was trash.
Yeah. And I think in that same interview, the same podcast with Stone Cold, he said that Brock was lazy in that match because he wanted to do more with Brock, but Brock wasn't giving of himself, and that made the match even more trash because I guess he said, well, if you don't care, then I don't care either. Then fuck it.
Yeah,
screw it.
I think Brock probably is down with a lot of the goofy stuff, like the little, rebound clothesline off the ropes.
I hate that.
And then the other move, the elbow drop to a standing blow. Like he has a very goofy, unorthodox looking offense, other than the dirty deeds. And half of the moves that he did when he was John Moxley, he doesn't even do anymore. So it's just like I don't really. There's nothing about Dean Ambrose that's, interesting to me. And like you said, I would defend a lot of people, and I defend a lot of people, that most others wouldn't. But in this, situation, not even Joker, Dean Ambrose, he never really stepped his game up when he came to WWE. It's kind of like, he probably had this feeling like I'm John Moxley, I'm the best promo guy in the company, and eventually you guys will come around, but until then, I'm just here. It was a wake-up call seeing him fight Seth Rollins for the Intercontinental title and fans change boring during the match. If you have a boring match with Seth Rollins, something is wrong.
Something is wrong. And also, if you look back to how they was trying to bring in John Moxley and Mick Foley, they had an online little thing going on, and it was catching like a lot of fanfare, and a lot of people were picking up on it. And then Mick Foley nixed it because Dean Ambrose I think he brought his son into it, and so maybe from that incident that kind of got him a little gun shy because you never know if he got his hand slapped, or how you hear stories about how finicky the backstage politics of like wrestling is. So you don't know if he was still recovering from heat off of that, because I think Mick Foley even addressed it, saying, I wanted to work with him, but the last straw was when he included my family, and that offended Mick Foley. So for someone like Mick Foley to get offended after all the stuff that he has done, so there had to be some reverberating consequences backstage from that. And maybe he never recovered from that. And maybe just like you said, oh, I'm the best promo guy. I'm the best promo guy. I can do what I want. And maybe he got his hands slapped a little too hard, more than what he liked, and that kind of put a stigma on him. And maybe that's one of the reasons as well. But you just never know.
So I can definitely get with that. Final thing, late break when you mentioned Renee Young earlier, stating that she's tired of people saying take the baby with you if he is indeed leaving. Why do you feel compelled to defend Renee Young in this instance? A lot of people are not happy with the way that she does commentary, and there are quite a few people that say that she doesn't really know what she's talking about.
Well, I'm defending Renee for two reasons. Number one, it is scripted. The commentary itself, to an extent, is scripted. I mean, I would like to see a lot of us as fans sit up here and try to do that job. I mean, of course, you usually have your facts guy, you have your main point guy, and you have your color. So Renee is not any of those really. She is a journalist. She is more of the legitimate, but you also have um, Michael Cole still being the legitimate. She's not the play-by-play caller. But I think that with me having to defend Renee shouldn't necessarily have to happen because of the simple fact is like she's doing the best that she can with a script. So I think that people need to ease up on that and realize like, hey, she's not coming up with all this stuff off the top of her head. She's trying to. She's doing it on the fly. She's doing the best that she can. And I don't think that Renee is really that terrible of a commentator. But we have seen some terrible ones. I don't think that she's that bad, but she is a fan doing the best that she can as well. So that's why I felt like I need to defend her.
Yeah. Oh, wait, John. I'm sorry, brother. Yeah, I would like to echo that sentiment as well because if you look at Morrow has called thousands of MMA fights, boxing matches, and everything, and when you get someone yelling in your ear, that can impact you. My only critique with Renee is probably really not with her. It's just like when her husband wrestles and they were starting to reference it a little bit. They like gloss over it. It's like, all right, everyone knows that Renee and Dean are husband and wives because you are showing it on Total Divas. So just to not to acknowledge that or even play into the way she commentates, yeah, that is her husband. So she should be able to show like a little bias, not blatant bias, but just a little tad bit bias. And I think the people it's not Renee, it's just the way that she's being produced. And going back to Juicy's point, like nobody's roles are defined. Michael Cole is going from commentary to pitchman to color man. Sometimes him and Corey step on they step on each other from time to time. And you have Renee trying to get her little double dutch on, trying to put a little bird here and there. I think once they define the roles and change the way that she's produced, I think that sentiment about being taken her with her should change.
Yeah, I could definitely give them both for what you're saying. She's definitely leading. Is what I would call it. I don't think she gets any more heat than any other, commentator who plays that type of role. Saxton got a lot of heat.
Booker.
Yeah,
Booker T.
Booker got a lot of heat, and I think you're going to get that with Corey Graves out there regardless. However, there are some times when she does seem like she's lost out there. Once again, I think that the major thing is that I think that we're all kind of drunk over the fact that you have somebody who is a woman doing the spot that they don't usually put a woman in, and I think that that's what's going to make us really feel more so for for her than we would, for anybody else because we want to see what we do. Right now we're in the age of the, women's evolution. We're in the age of the, new generation. We got a lot of firsts going on in women's wrestling that are going to be right now. And I think that because of that going on is the reason why she's always given the more. Right. So other than that, I mean, I think that we definitely went a lot of the time here. So I'm going to jump right on and close it on out here and go into our final thought. Me personally, and Cool Cal, you're doing the show, so definitely all we do here is just drop the listeners with a little bit of information to hang their head on and to dwell on. It could be anything wrestling or entertainment related that you want to. Personally, I'm just going to end with once again, I got a chance to see the pre-screen for Fighting With My Family, starring Paige, the story of her life and transition from her wrestling family all the way to making it to the WWE. It's definitely a movie that I think that if you're a wrestling fan, you should watch it. It may not be a big popular mainstream movie, but I think that you guys will definitely enjoy it. And that's my final thought. Lady Great, what you want to jump on in?
Well, my final thought is this Sunday, there's a lot going on. Oh, but before I get into this Sunday, Saturday night, that Worlds Collide tournament is going to be a spectacle, and I'm really, really anxious to see who all's in it. And they're getting the coveted, what TNA called it was option B that they did in their X division, where they get to choose the champion that they want to go after. And I thought that that's pretty cool with that. But this Sunday is the Super Bowl, and I will say this, and I know I might hurt a lot of people's feelings, but go Rams. Screw the Patriots. And
yeah. Man, I would like to say, thank you guys so much for the invite. This is like inner kid in me dream come true to sit around and talk about wrestling with other people and not to get shunned about it, which is pretty awesome. Jonathan, thank you so much. Miss Lady, it was very cool conversing back and forth with you as well about wrestling. The thing I would like to end with is that life is short. Why don't you spend it out marking out with friends?
I like that. I love it.
Hashtag stolen.
You think we ain't gonna use that before forward? No, we will. Go ahead and break them off for social media. You got the handles.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Follow me on social media. I go by EL_cool Cal, LL Cool Cal. Instagram, Twitter is exactly the same. I post up funny stuff, ratchet stuff, conscious stuff, fuck Trump stuff. I'm sorry, my bad. I shouldn't have said that. But yeah, just follow me on social media, LL Cool Cal, and I'll follow you back.
No doubt. Well, on that note, it's been a great episode. Definitely a pleasure having you on the show, Cal. We'll definitely do this again sometime in the future. Lady Great One, once again, always great to have your insight and have your dynamic being added to the group. But it's been a great episode, and we're going to go ahead and close out the show. But before we do that, I'm going to hit my damn music one more time.